Hello everyone and welcome to STEMfest 2015. My name is Bradley Layton and I'm a professor at the University of Montana where I direct the Energy Technology program. Before we get started, I want to thank you for spending time with me, Governor Bullock, and the fine folks at the Inspired Classroom and an organization known as We Are Montana in the Classroom, who place University of Montana faculty members, graduate students, and professionals in K-12 classrooms statewide to inspire them about higher education and career pathways. Today, with the technology provided by VisionNet, we are able to fulfill this mission. This event is part of a national initiative called STEM Career Accelerator Day, being hosted by STEM Connector. You can find more about their organization at stemconnector.org. My first connection with STEM Connector came through as a result of a National Science Foundation grant I received through their Advanced Technology Education Division to enhance the educational opportunities for my energy technology students, a few of whom you see behind me, to strengthen our relationship with the Blackfeet Community College, to build connections with renewable energy technology companies, and to build connections with high school students around Montana and across the United States. You probably already know this, but the presentation you're about to take part in is a minds-on activity. So get comfortable in your seat, take a deep breath, and get ready to meet and interact with some of Montana's leaders in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, I'll hand it over to Governor Bullock, who would like to share with you his vision for the future of STEM education in Big Sky Country.
Hi everyone, I'm Governor Steve Bullock, and I'd like to thank you for being a part of the first ever Montana STEMfest and showing an interest in a career in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math. These are some of the fastest growing career fields in the nation. In fact, over the next decade, Montana is expected to need more than 2,000 new workers a year with skills specific to these fields. And these are good paying jobs in careers such as engineering, research and technology, architecture, and health sciences. I've been working hard to ensure that students like you have access and support to succeed, which is why we've created the Governor's STEM Scholarship Program to provide financial aid to students pursuing one of these careers. We've also launched the Montana STEM Mentors Initiative to encourage more girls to pursue a career in these fields. You all will determine what the future of Montana looks like, and your participation today means that we will have a bright one. Thanks so much for being here and have a great time.
All right, you guys, thanks so much. So, I would love to introduce right now Jackie Bull from CTA Architecture. Come on in. And also, Dr. Mark Reiser, come on in. So, what we're going to do right now is I'm going to have them both say their names, one great thing about where you live, and also how STEM impacts your life. And then I'm going to turn it over to you and ask the same questions to you. So, Jackie, would you please start?
Sure. So my name's Jackie Bull. I'm actually an architect in training at CTA here in Missoula, Montana native, so always been in Montana. And what was my last thing?
How does STEM impact?
Oh, how does STEM? Mm-hmm. So actually we use that on a daily basis. Architecture is a lot of math, physics, science, really, we use it daily.
Perfect. Dr. Reiser?
My name is Mark Reiser. I work in the physics department here at the University of Montana. I love Missoula because, well, I'm from Wisconsin originally, so I love the mountains. I love all the trails and the biking opportunities around here and hiking and all that good stuff. And then as far as how I use STEM every day in my work, I actually do a lot of outreach like this as part of my job with the physics department, and I do all the advising for the physics majors in our department. So we basically talk about physics and math and stuff all day long.
Take it away.
Okay, so I work at CTA Architects and Engineers. We're a little bit different than most architecture firms because we also have engineering in-house. We have 18 different offices. The locations are on your guys' screen, all the way up to Canada, all the way down to New Orleans, all the way to Texas. So we get to see a pretty wide variety of everything, really. So this is kind of our quote that we go by, and I just think that it summarizes what we do perfectly. We are creative, resourceful, and passionate. We focus on innovative architecture, engineering, and designs that result in transforming experience for our clients. We have the courage and imagination to turn technological potential into the promise of a better way of living. So that's pretty much what we do as a firm, all of us. Because we do both architecture and engineering, we do have a lot of things, but every office is different. So here in Missoula, we have architectural, electrical engineering, interior design, landscape architecture, mechanical engineering, and refrigeration engineering. So while I couldn't have a representative from each of those here, I kind of asked each of them to give a couple sentences about what makes their profession interesting. So I'm going to talk about all of those today. So architectural, that's obviously the field that I'm in. And I think the most important thing about architecture is that we are great problem solvers. We communicate, we're the hub in between all the engineers. With that comes needing to know a little bit about everything. So an architect is a licensed professional, as is all engineers, which means that you have to work a certain number of hours and then pass tests to become licensed. So it's actually 3 years of working as an architect and then 7 tests. So I'm about 2 tests away from that, which is why I'm an architect in training. Once you pass all that, that's when you get that term as an architect. So let's see. I decided when I was a child that I wanted to be an architect or an interior designer. So I toured colleges and looked at both of them. After looking at colleges, I decided on interior design. So I do have an interior design degree. A couple years into that, I decided that it wasn't at all what I thought it was, and architecture is really what I wanted. So I did that as well. So I currently have a degree in interior design, architecture, and then I did a master's in architecture, and the architecture portion at MSU in Bozeman. The most exciting project that I've worked on, I've been in Missoula for about 3 years. I focus on healthcare architecture, so I do a lot for the hospitals. And the most exciting project that I've worked on is actually the new OB unit. So at St. Pat's Hospital here in Missoula, they did not used to deliver babies. And as of August, they now deliver babies. And so that was my project, and it was really interesting. I really liked the idea that you're kind of impacting people's daily lives. And then it's also kind of interesting that, you know, it all comes full circle. So I am currently pregnant and going to have a baby in this unit that I designed, which really couldn't be cooler. So that's really exciting. Other things about architecture is there's a ton of different employment opportunities. I work with some people that are really quiet and they're great drafters, they're really efficient, and they still make good money doing that. I work with other people that are very good at communication, and all they do is kind of the business aspect. So they do all the management, and there's kind of everything in between. Depending on what kind of city you're in or what kind of firm you're in, you can also pick to specialize. We have people that only do education or only healthcare, and then we have generalists that will do anything. So there's kind of a lot of opportunity there. The other thing about any of these architecture or engineering or interior design is you have a good opportunity to be self-employed. So if that's something that you're interested in, it's actually like 1 in 5 architects are self-employed. So you can make your schedule, kind of decide what you want to do, what you're interested in, a lot of freedom there. Specifically at CTA, as far as job shadowing or internships go, we definitely recommend both. This year I've had 3 different students job shadow with me. And we're always open to that. So if anybody locally wants to, or if you aren't local, there's a CTA office almost everywhere in Montana. So reach out to them and ask if you can hang out for a day with them, or a couple days, or whatever interesting to you. As you also go through college, we also will take people in the summers in between their years, so you can come and experience what it would be like there. Most of those people actually end up hiring back, so it's kind of a good way to get your foot in the door if you're interested. So electrical engineering, when I asked for his sentence, he really just said, ask them where they want to live. So if you're interested in staying in Montana or small or rural areas, there's really like 3 different kinds of engineering. And he said building systems engineering, which is what we do. So kind of your daily buildings, that kind of stuff. Then you can choose where you want to live, but you make a little bit less money. Other options are computer electronic engineering and high voltage engineering. These jobs, you'll make a great deal of money coming right out of college. You'll be over $100,000, but you're kind of forced to live in like Houston, Texas, or Williston, North Dakota, or wherever it is. They're also a little bit more volatile, so maybe not as stable of a job, but the money's there. So that's kind of his, let's see, interior design. So our interior designer that we have in Missoula actually has a pretty diverse background. She also came from Washington, D.C., so she talked about the difference between the two, and kind of all the opportunities that you get with that. So she said living in Montana, she gets a way more diverse experience. She gets to work on tons of different projects, where when she worked in DC, she only did hotel rooms. So again, it's kind of where do you want to live and what do you want to specialize in. Interior designers are usually either residential or commercial. They usually don't do both. And they also work closely with architects on all the details. So usually when there's an interior designer, there's always an architect going hand in hand with them. Her favorite projects that she's worked on is actually the one I'm standing in front of is Salvation Army here in Missoula. That building just opened actually on Friday. And that was one of her favorite ones. She also does a lot of educational and a lot of healthcare. Bozeman Deaconess Hospital is one that we do a lot on. And she really likes that the spaces get to help people. With her, it's also a lot of people are self-employed. So you can be an interior designer, or you can also rep for different material companies, and that allows you to travel. So landscape architecture. When I asked him for his input on that, he just said, it's a really broad discipline, and unless you know specifically what you want to do, the best thing you can do is get a well-rounded education. He said that you will constantly be doing public speaking, writing, and drawing, so focus on those standards. He recommends traveling, seeing a range of climates, learning from what you can touch and what you can feel. And he did say that the profession can be difficult to find jobs, so make your life easier, go to a great school, study hard, and look at the world around you, and you'll be fine. So mechanical and refrigeration engineering. This is something that really Missoula, and as far as CTA goes, Missoula is the only one that has refrigeration engineering. And it allows them to be able to travel all over the world, really. So it's kind of an interesting one. But regardless of which type you decide to go into, the first 2 years of college will be about the same, and then you'll start taking specialized classes into which one you're interested in. In mechanical engineering, there's tons of subcategories. But the refrigeration one is kind of a specialty. So you design and coordinate very large cooling systems, gets to travel to other states, other countries, does grocery stores, large warehouses, breweries, ice rinks, processing plants. And he just said that he finds it extremely beneficial, and because it's so specialized, there's always a need out there. As far as regular mechanical engineering goes, he just, his advice was to know that buildings use 40% of the energy, and that you can have such an impact with mechanical engineering by designing systems that use less energy, and kind of really look at the sustainability of it, and that's how your impact can be. Regardless of which one you go into, these are kind of the school subjects and how they apply to all of us. So we definitely use art, science, math, geography, history, technical writing, creative writing. I kind of already talked about job shadowing and internships, but something that we highly recommend. Come and hang out for a day and make sure you like it before you make that commitment. And the last thing that I have for you is, if it's something that you're interested in, we use AutoCAD, Revit, and SketchUp, and they give free versions of their software to students. So you can download it and you can try them, and really Revit is kind of taking over AutoCAD. So that's where our industry goes. We use Revit and SketchUp. So those are two things that you can try now, and really the more knowledge you have, the better. You really can't know everything about it. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay, cool. I'm kind of loud, so if I get too loud, maybe we can turn the mic down. So one of the things I like to do a lot of hands-on things. So I was going to kind of show you a few physics classroom at the university, and then I'll talk a little bit about our department towards the very end. So first, we're just going to have a little bit of fun. I hope this translates well to the screens that you guys are on. I have a little rotating platform here, freely rotating platform that I'm going to be standing on. I'm doing a couple things. Before I hop on there and hurt myself, I'm just going to show you, I just got a regular bike tire here. For those of you who, how many of you guys at your locations like to ride your bike a lot, or ride bikes?
Hands up.
Raise your hand. Mm-hmm. Okay. I can't see all the people at Sentinel. Maybe, I don't know, hopefully some of your hands went up. I love to ride my bike. I ride it everywhere. One of the cool things about studying physics is when you study it, your mind kind of starts to be able to grasp all kinds of things in your everyday life that are impacted by just the laws of physics. It's everywhere. And one good example is just your bike and how that works. When we learn to ride our bikes when we're little, it's kind of counterintuitive because we get scared when we go fast, when we're learning to take the training wheels off. And as you can see, just a regular old bike tire, I've got this little rope tied to it. It doesn't want to be vertical the way I've got it situated right now. So it's not very stable balancing like this. It just wants to fall over, which is why it's easy to fall over on your bike before you get it going. And so if you get your bike tire going fast enough, you don't need to work remotely as hard to keep it vertical. In fact, it becomes more stable. And it's a little counterintuitive because it gets a little bit scary when you're a little kid moving so quick. If you bike out, the cost is obviously higher, but you are actually more stable the faster that you're going. I don't recommend going 50 miles per hour down any hills. I've done it time here, but I always remind myself, Mark, you're more stable now. Just don't hit any rock, gravel, anything like that, and you're okay. So the other neat way to illustrate that, so a neat little law of nature that we're observing right now is that when you get things in a certain fashion, they tend to want to stay in that fashion unless you do something to change that. And one way that happens is in straight line sense, but it also happens rotationally. And so if I do that again, and now I'm going to stand on my rotating platform, so I'm on a platform where I can kind of go any direction I want. If I do this, without turning away from you guys, so I do this with my bike tire again, and get that rotating fast enough, well, okay, rotating in this fashion, but if I try to turn it in sense of its rotation, fast enough. I wasn't rotating very well. I want to get that going. But I'm rotating right now. If I do this, I promise I'm not doing anything to my feet now. But the bike tire's rotation is there. And as you can see, as I change the orientation of the bike tire with my arms, there's a net general rotation of me plus the bike tire. As I change the bike tire, I also change in as a consequence of that, so that the overall system keeps its same rotational sense the whole time. So that's kind of a fun thing to do. So again, things that are rotating in a certain sense want to stay rotating in that same pattern. And that's the same. You guys have probably all seen this one. I like this one. It has major applications for astronomy, and astronomy is probably my favorite subfield of physics. Well, it is. Actually, can someone come give me a push? Whoever wants to push on my arm. I can use the. Okay, that's probably fast enough because I'm going to fall off. So whoa, okay. So I'm going to pull my arms in. You see, I speed up. Oh, and then I slow down, and then I speed up, and I'm doing nothing with my feet again. And okay, that's enough for me. Okay, now the key is to not fall over or throw up or anything like that. So that gets harder. I'm only in my 30s now, but that gets a lot harder. You guys can probably kick my butt on that and spin all you want. Be like, that was cool, do it again, go faster. I don't like that anymore. So anyway, one of the neat things that happens is, again, so I was just rotating freely. As I pulled my arms in, I tended to pick up, and I actually have to pull those weights in with some force. And the energy of the system actually increases in some sense. I put energy in, and I actually speed up faster. But the neat way to think of it is divers and gymnasts know this law as the law of conservation of momentum. They know that if I'm spinning, I can make it even easier for myself to spin. I bring my arms in. Flips, I've done gymnastics when I was a kid. It's way easier to do a flip when you're tucked like this than it is when you're in a layout position. Same thing, and so you use that when they speed up. And neutron stars and white dwarfs and things like that. There's stars that collapse down to a very, very small size. And if you imagine certain stars in the universe actually collapse down the size of around our Earth, if they become a white dwarf, certain stars other than that, they become what are called neutron stars. And so imagine a star a couple times the mass of our sun that has collapsed down to a size that it is so small that it's now around the size of Missoula. So imagine a star twice the mass of our sun, the size of Missoula, rotating 30 times every second. Those are called those are called pulsars if we see them from a certain vantage point. So there are stars that are unbelievable things with their rotation because of that conservation of angular momentum, spinning way faster than I just did just now. And then one more thing I was going to do, and I don't know how well this will translate, if you guys can see this on your screen. I got a tricycle, which seems like the most exciting thing ever for a demo, right? A tricycle, yes. All right. So this is actually a lot of fun. So, and I'm not going to be able to see your hands very well, but if you guys can see this tricycle, so we've been talking a little bit about rotation and things rotating. You guys can see this tire. So we've got our pedals here, right? So if I were pedaling my bike, my tricycle down the street, so you can see that if I rotate that, the pedals doing, right? Okay, great. Nothing real fancy going on here. I have a little board in the tricycle so that the tire doesn't change its direction, so that it goes straight. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you guys to make a prediction. So I've got the pedal right here. This is the pedal that's closest to you. Is that okay? What I'm going to do is just from back here, so I'm not going to touch the bike, but I am going to push on the pedal. Okay? I'm going to push it in this fashion. Okay? And then I want you guys to predict for me what direction the tricycle is going to move if I push on the bottom pedal right there. Okay? And I'm going to push it in this fashion. Okay? And so I want to get a show of hands from people. I hope you can see this, okay? But tell me if you think that the tricycle is going to move forward or backwards. So let's get first the show of hands for how many people think the tricycle is going to move forwards. Okay.
Nobody. Very
Okay.
interesting.
And then let's get a show of hands for how many people think the tricycle is going to move backwards.
Sentinel. Oh, yep.
Okay. All right. And how many didn't vote? We got actually, I think, most people voting. That was good. Okay. Okay. So very good. Okay. So keep in mind, and I didn't preface this with new second law. But second law states that if we apply an unbalanced force on an object, that object should respond with acceleration in the direction of that unbalanced. So let's go ahead and see if we believe in Newton's second law. It makes it seem like, if I push forward on the pedal, the tricycle moves backwards. Does anyone want to change their vote? I'm just curious. The laws of physics are a little counterintuitive here in that I'm not sure that lends itself to the tricycle moving forward or backwards. What do you guys think? Does anyone want to change from forward to backwards, or do you still think, let's do the vote one more time real quick. Is the tricycle going to move forward, or is the tricycle going to move backwards? So forward.
That's a hard sell.
Okay, and votes for backward.
I think we're
Still back. Okay.
a little bit more hesitation.
So here we go. Hopefully you can see this. All right. No tricks. Behind the tricycle, I'm going to push on the back. Okay. Physics pusher right here. I don't know if you guys can see my right there. Okay. I'm going to push forward. It's hard to see. There we go. Okay. What direction did the bike go, or the tricycle go? Forward.
Yep, forward.
I'm not really trying to get why, but it's not a magic tricycle, I promise. It does really go forward. It's sometimes counterintuitive, but that's perfect. But anyway, I do want to have a little time to talk with you just a bit about our parts before I run out of time. So we're a really small department at the University of Montana. I just started working for the physics department about a year ago. I absolutely love my job. I get to be the people person in physics. I work with all of our majors doing the advising and helping them with career planning and things like that. We have 4 different options in our physics department. We have the regular physics option, we have an astronomy option, which is also really popular. And then we have a computational physics option, which is kind of a hybrid of physics and a little bit of computer science kind of built into that. And then a broad field teaching science. So we have physics, astronomy, computational, and broad field. And we have a smattering of majors in each one, but we really only graduate around 8 to 10 majors a year. So a really small, tight-knit department. I get to know the students really, really well. And I meet with them at this time of the semester to help them plan out their classes and things. So there's a lot of things you can do with a physics major. I don't necessarily know if I have time to get into all of it, but the short of it is you can go in almost any direction you want in graduate school, from medical school to law school, but then of course more natural fits in terms of things that people think about are going to be grad school in physics, astronomy, computer science, math, all kinds of biophysics, medical physics, things like that. All kinds of applications that you can explore beyond your undergrad, or you can go right into the workforce in technology, engineering, things like that. So it's a very, very, I love physics in part because, again, the more you study, the more it kind of influences the lens you get to look at the world with, and it just shows up every day. Like I said, when I ride my bike or when I'm in the woods and just looking at leaves falling to the ground. It doesn't matter. It's everywhere. So before I talk too much, I'm running.
How long does it take to get a degree in engineering or physics?
Okay, so it's usually a 4-year degree to get a bachelor's, although most people end up pursuing a master's, and depending on where you go, that's another year or 2.
Yeah, the short answer for physics is it's a 4-year degree as well. It's easier to do it in 4 if you can hit the ground running with calculus right away your first year. But even if you don't get to calculus until your second year, you can still do, you can get into the our intro physics class your second year and then still complete it in 4 years. It's just a little bit more of a crunch with your upper division coursework, but you can still do it in 4 either way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Let's go ahead and move down to Sentinel. I recognize some of our engineers down there from earlier. Oh, and Sentinel might be having a class change. Let's not go to Sentinel. Let's go ahead and go over to Columbia Falls.
What sort of jobs can you expect to get with a physics degree?
Right on. So a lot of times physics majors, one of the things I tell our majors, which is kind of it's like a double-edged sword of a physics major, is you're very much a jack of all trades and a generalist. So I'll admit, very rarely do you see jobs posted where it says looking for a physicist, because unless you're a researcher, your job title probably isn't physicist. But what you might do is anything from a technician. You could be a researcher in a lab. You could be an engineer. You could be a specialist in all. You could be an IT person, software, computer programmer, things like that. So you can do all these jobs that might be someone who with an engineering degree goes and gets, and you can compete for all those same jobs. So you're very much a generalist, which is really neat. But it kind of, for our majors, it's this ongoing challenge of, okay, what exactly did I like most about the physics major that I want to continue to emphasize in my professional life? So there's a pretty good smattering of job titles that any of our given physics majors would have. But it's just kind of a matter. So some of them might call themselves engineers. Some of them would be researchers, technicians, all those kinds of things. So you can kind of do anything with that. But again, unless you're doing graduate work, you're probably not straight like physicist, astronomer, something like that. But you can, of course, do those things too and just continue on and do the research. So, great question.
All right, Bozeman, how about you? Do you have some questions for either Jackie or Dr. Reiser?
I guess we don't have a question at this time.
Okay. All right, and now I'm going to return to Sentinel. I see you guys had a class change, but I see some of our engineers are still there. Do you have some questions?
Yeah. What's the starting phase like as Sentinel State? What would you say?
So Sentinel, could you come a little bit closer to the? I know you guys were on the computer. Come up a little bit closer. It's hard to hear you from back there.
What's the pay for engineers, like a starting pay average in the U.S.? Starting pay for engineers?
For engineers, at least in Montana, I'll say, you can kind of look online, and we really fall kind of right in the median of what they say the average is. At least that's been my experience. We do have some, like, if you're great, you're going to get the higher end, but the median of kind of what you see online, it varies, and actually engineers typically make more than architects. So.
Good question.
There's definitely good money in the hard sciences. One thing I'd throw in addition to your question, one of the neat things about being in the hard sciences is if you do go on to want to pursue graduate work within that field, whether it be engineering or physics or chemistry, whatever it is, the neat thing about graduate work is unlike the humanities and things, the graduate departments in those fields typically have money to fund their graduate students. So you typically go to grad school and become a part-time employee of the department, and you work basically to pay for your education. You go to grad school for free. So it's a pretty awesome deal. I didn't know that when I was in high school and really for most of my undergrad. I didn't know that grad school was kind of a free proposition if I stayed in physics. That was an awesome incentive. So free school is good.
Perfect. I'm just going to open it up to general questions. If anybody from any school has a question, I can see all of you. So if you raise your hand, I'll call on your school. All right. Okay, it looks like we're about done. Thank you guys all for participating today, and please help me take a moment to thank Jackie Bull and Dr. Mark Reiser from the University of Montana. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, guys.